DreAllDay.com.
You are now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to occur. And on top of all this, get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a bunch of frameworks. I'm not going to say one anymore. A bunch of frameworks, a bunch of different philosophies and approaches and ways that you can go and make things happen for yourself in your life. We're talking personal and professional development, a bunch of different strategies and philosophies that you can take here, all based on some simple principles that I just explained. A whole bunch of books that I've written in this daily masterclass. Yes, every single day masterclass that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today, everybody, to all the listeners of the Work on Your Game masterclass, this is a momentous occasion, what we are stepping into right now. This is really a momentous occasion because we are creeping up on episode number 2,000 episodes of the Work on Your Game podcast / masterclass. 2,000 episodes. Now, some of you have been around since the very beginning, back in 2016. Most of you probably were not, but that's all right. We got an archive and you can go check previous episodes anytime that is convenient for you. And what we're going to be doing starting today in episode 1996, then 97, 98, 99, and 2000, the next 5 episodes, I'm going to be sharing with you the most important keys that I learned and that you are going to get, that you can take with you from these 2,000 episodes that I published. Basically, my key takeaways, understandings, learnings, insights, and benefits from doing this show 2,000 days in a row from way back in 2016. Now, before I go any further into it, let me inform or remind everybody that I have a text message line. And at that text message line, I send out a daily motivation message every single morning to everyone who's in my text community. So if you would like to receive my daily motivation text, all you have to do is send me a text right now at the following number, 305-384-6894. When you text me there, once we confirm that you are actually you, no impersonations here, then you will be receiving my daily motivation text, which I send out every day. And another thing about that text line, you can ask one of your friends, they'll verify this, or you can take my word for it, that I actually do man that text line. So I got a text today, as a matter of fact, a few minutes ago before I started recording. I was replying to all my texts, and somebody texted and said they liked the daily motivation message that I sent today, and they said, "Is this really you, or is it automated, or is it a bot, or something like that?" And I texted them back, said, "No, it's really me." So that answers the question I was just about to pose. If anyone's wondering, is it just a bot that just sends out a text every day? Well, it does send out you will get a text every day that is written by me, but also I respond to messages. So when you hear something, you get a daily motivation message, you have a question, you have a challenge you want to share, you have a win, a success that you want to share with me, you just want to tell me something, or again, ask me a question, you can do it at that text line. So just send a text the same way you would text anybody else. Every day, I take time out of my day and I go through my texts and see what people are texting, and I reply to people's texts. And any of you who's in my text community can verify that I do actually reply to your texts. And maybe you might think it's a bot when I'm just sending out the daily motivations, but when I actually respond to you, then you know it's me. So, and there's some other bonuses and benefits I'm not even going to mention here that you get when you're in my text community. But once you get in it, you'll see for yourself. It's completely free of charge. So again, all you have to do is just send a text to the number 305-384-6894. Now, the last that I checked, because someone had asked me about this as well, is that you do have to have a US based, is either US or Canada number, I think, are the only numbers that allow the text to work. So if you are outside of the United States and you don't have a United States phone number or a Canada phone number, then you might not be able to do it just yet. But as services and abilities expand, I anticipate that I'll be able to send text to people all across the world. And at that point, my community should double once I can go outside of just the United States, because the Work on Your Game message is and has been global ever since 2005, and that's an actual fact. So with all of that being said, now y'all know where to text me at, okay? And that number is down below in the description. What the topic here is, we are on part 1 of 5, where I'm giving you the keys that I have learned and taken away and gotten from the 2,000 daily episodes of the Work on Your Game Masterclass. Now, I remember when I first started this show, one of the reasons that I started it, because actually, as a matter of fact, I had been on a show. I appeared on someone else's platform. Now, before I even had my own podcast, I was appearing on other people's podcasts. And this was around 2015, going into early 2016. I had appeared on a show called Athlete on Fire that was hosted by this guy by the name of Scott Jones. And after I did an interview with him, he was saying to me, he was like, Dre, you need to have your own podcast. With the stuff that you talk about and the way that you explain things, you should have your own podcast. And my challenge with having a podcast, because I had thought about it probably a year before I actually did it, maybe even earlier than that, was that it was too complicated. It was too techy. I didn't know how I could actually start a podcast. And at the time, platforms like Anchor, where you could just record straight to your phone, that didn't even exist at this time. And I'm talking to Scott, and he says, well, look, the way he said, first of all, being that whatever he was talking about on his show, he was like, I want you to just do some cameos on my show. So he basically gave me his platform and let me record a couple of like solo episodes where I was just talking about something that he would post it to his feed on his podcast, which was called, again, Athlete on Fire. Then after I did a few of those, I thought to myself, well, damn, Scott's right. I do actually have a lot of things to say here, because by this point, 2015, 2016, I already had 4,000 or 5,000 videos on YouTube. So it's not like I was starving for content. I already had plenty of material to share. And then I was asking Scott, I finally got over my limiting belief that podcasting was too techy for me to do it. And I asked Scott, all right, what exactly do I need to do it? If I wanted to host my own podcast, what kind of equipment do I need? What kind of software do I need? Can you help me understand it? I don't want to get in over my head with all this tech stuff. And Scott explained to me, all right, first of all, Dre, you just need to get a microphone. You get that on Amazon for $50, which I did. And then he said, the only audio software that you need, you can use this software called Audacity. And I still use Audacity to this very day. It is free, open source software that you can download online, and it is called Audacity. Spell it exactly how the word is spelled. And you can download it to a Mac or to a Windows computer or a PC. And all you do is just record straight to it. So when I do my audio books, when I appear on other people's shows, when I record this show, I just use this app Audacity. I don't have the only hardware that I use is microphone. If you're watching on video, you can see the mic in front of me right now. This is a Yeti microphone by the company's called Blue, and they call the microphone, like this model is called the Yeti. And this is the only mic that I use. I don't use the same mic that I first started out with. I had a $50 one, ATR 2100, and then I upgraded to the Yeti. I just like the way this one sits on the desk a little bit better. So this is the only hardware, is this mic and this camera that I'm recording on. And the only software is Audacity. That's it. That's all I use to record this show. So any of you nowadays, 2021 going into 2022, everybody knows how simple and easy it is to start a podcast. The platforms have made it so easy and so seamless for anyone to get into the content creation game. You don't have the same challenges that someone like me had even 5-6 years ago. And mind you, this is a person with 4,000 videos online. I didn't even know how simple it was. And now it's simple for everybody. Anybody can start a podcast straight from their phone. But the point is, once I got that equipment, I took the same stuff that I had said on a couple cameo episodes of Scott's podcast, and I re-recorded them and started my podcast with those audios. And then the ideas just started pouring out of me. I just started thinking, all right, what is this show going to be about? Now, when it first started, the show was going to be about, of course, we were going to talk about mindset, and we were going to talk some business things, and also it was going to be about just putting yourself out there, getting yourself seen, heard, and known. Because at that time, I had just been starting my entrepreneurial, full-time entrepreneurial journey. I was out of basketball, and I was trying to get myself seen, heard, and known. So I was basically sharing a lot of the principles that I was either using myself or I was learning at the time, and I was sharing those on the show and maybe sharing some concepts that I had talked about for years, but didn't have it in an official place where people could easily find it. And that's when I started talking about it on the podcast. And slowly, I just started to come up with a formula for how I do it. Was still the formula that I use today. I was using that formula probably by, within 50, 60 episodes of the show, was where I would introduce the topic. I would give you a little intro on why this is the topic, and then I would give you my points. Point number 1, point number 2, point number 3. And that's a formula that I still use to this very day. It's a formula that I actually use in damn near everything that I do. When I speak on Clubhouse, I use that formula. When I give a keynote speech, I use that formula. When I'm even working with people one-on-one, depending on what the challenge is, I can use that formula at different times. When I make videos on YouTube often, I would use that formula. So this is a formula that has always worked for me, and I have shared this in episodes where I talked about frameworks here on this very show. So what I'm going to share with you today and for the next 4 days is I'm going to share with you on on specific topics, what I've gotten from doing this show. There's a lot of things I've gotten from doing this show, and I could just talk extemporaneously and give you everything, but I'd rather give you the points because it's easier to follow, and because I already got this fleshed out what I want to say. So today I'm going to just talk about me and what I have personally gotten from this and what it's done for me in recording this show. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about purpose and how what I've been doing on this show and the audience that I have garnered and the feedback that I've gotten from you all, and just this engagement, this intimate engagement we have every single day with me talking in your ear on this show. What has this done to help me live out my purpose and even more connect to my purpose out here, which I will be talking about in part 2 of 5, which will be tomorrow. On the next day, the third day of this 5-part series, I'm going to be talking about the Work on Your Game brand and the business, and how and why someone will record 2,000 episodes of a podcast every single day for 2,000 days straight. What is that actually doing for me brand-wise and business-wise? And with that, you're going to be able to glean some things that maybe might move you to start putting out your content, whether it's written, audio, video, in your way, and on your platforms. I'm going to tell you how it has helped me, what it's done for me. On day 4 of this 5-part series, which will be episode 1999, I'm going to talk about you. You specifically being the people who are listening here on this show, and what you need to know about this show now and what you need to know about this show moving forward. I'll be sharing that on part 4 of 5. And then on day 5 of 5, episode number 2000 exactly, I'll be giving you some advice. And you'll understand exactly what I mean by that when we get up to episode 5. So that's what I'm going to be doing for today and the next 4 days. This 2,000 episodes bonanza, extravaganza, celebration as we get into the show. So now let's get into our points. Today's topic, once again, is I'm talking about the 20 best learnings and takeaways from doing 2,000 episodes of this show. The specific focus today is on me. Number 1, in doing 2,000 episodes of this show, I have effectively told myself everything that I wish someone had told me. I get asked this question often when I'm talking to younger people. Anybody who's younger than me, they'll ask me something like, what would you tell your younger self? Or even if they don't ask that question specifically, that's what they're looking for. Whenever you're talking to someone who's older than you, who appears to have some accomplishments under their belt, you want to find out, okay, how can I save myself some time? This is a great question to ask. How can I save myself some time? Like, what mistakes did you make? What are some things that you learned later that you wish you had learned sooner, so that the next generation can be a little bit ahead? Every generation is do a little bit better than the previous generation, simply because the newer generation now has the knowledge and experience of the previous generation under their belt. So they don't have to make the same mistakes that the previous generation made. So every generation should do a little bit better than who came before them. So what I've done in doing this show is take all of the things that I wish someone had sat me down and said to me. This show right here, the Work on Your Game Masterclass podcast, this is the conversation. The conversation I'm having with you on this show is the conversations that I wish someone had had with me. That's essentially what this show is about. So you want to know how I'm able to come up with this material on a consistent basis, and why you can tell that I give a damn about the things that I'm talking about here on the show. Because I'm taking this stuff like, damn, I wish somebody had explained this to me. Maybe I would have been a better basketball player. Maybe I would have gotten certain results faster. Maybe I wouldn't have made certain mistakes. Maybe I would have taken advantage of certain opportunities had I had the mindset and thought about it the way that I'm explaining it to you. So basically, I'm giving you the game that nobody gave me. All right, that's why it's called Work on Your Game. I'm trying to give you the game. And when I say that I wish someone had told me, I don't necessarily mean 20 years ago or when I was a 5-year-old. I can mean yesterday. I might learn something today and say to myself, damn, I wish somebody had told me that 3 weeks ago, and then I'm gonna make an episode about it. So it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a decade ago for you to get game from this. Like, there are people who listen to this show, you could be older than me and still get game from this show, because I have different experiences and a different perspective than you have. So I can still give you something even if we're the same age, or you're older than me or 20 years younger than me. I'm just giving the game out in a way that I wish someone had given me, and also in a way that I wish someone had worded it and explained it. Because one thing that I've always been challenged by when I'm hearing other people give the game, at least what they call giving the game, is they kind of sugarcoat things. People tend to sugarcoat certain topics, or they tend to kind of walk around certain subjects without saying exactly what they really want to say, because maybe they don't want to offend people. Maybe they want to make sure that they stay on the good side of a certain faction of individuals. Maybe they don't want to say anything that could possibly be used against them. I don't have that problem. I'm not that type of person. I'm the type of person who, listen, I will walk into a room and there's a dispute between the left side of the room and the right side of the room. I'll tell the right side, listen, here are the things that the left side actually has right, and here are the things that they have that are bullshit. And now to go over to the left side and tell them the same thing. Here are the things that the right side has right, and here are some things that are bullshit. And I don't need anybody in that room to like me, but I guarantee everybody in the room is going to respect what I told them because they respect the fact that I'm not trying to pander to their audience. I'm going to give you the game however the game is. And what y'all have to understand about me, and this company's called Work on Your Game. You've been listening to me for even a week. You should probably understand this, that my allegiance is to the game. My allegiance is not to black or white, male or female, any type of gender orientation, Democrat or Republican, left or right, anti this or pro this. My allegiance is not to any of those things. Now, while I may agree with or disagree with one of those based on what the topic is, my overall allegiance, and in the end of everything, we're all done talking, my allegiance is to the game. And the game is whatever things are and how things are working and how you can best maximize your opportunity and your position within the game. That is my number one, that's my priority. That's the only affiliation that I have is to the game. So if I need to tell you, athlete, that the reason that you're not playing is not because the coach is hating on you, it's because you can't play, then I'm going to tell you that because that's going to help your game if you listen. If I tell you that, look, now that we got all this wokeness going on, you can leverage that wokeness because you're female and brown skin, you can leverage it for a year or two and get opportunities that you otherwise might not be qualified to get. I'm going to tell you that, and I'm going to tell you straight up. That's what the game is right now. Now, the game may change, and that's why you got to pay attention to everything I'm saying. Don't just handpick the parts that sound convenient for you or the parts that make you feel good about yourself. You need to understand all the parts. And that's why we lay out the foundation of the Work on Your Game philosophy, that the ground that is built on discipline, confidence, mental toughness, and personal initiative. Everything else we talk about is built on that foundation. And my only affiliation, again, is to giving you the game. And if the game happens to upset you, if the game happens to annoy you, if the game happens to offend you, if the game happens to tell you something that you really didn't want to hear, good. Because that's the purpose of the game, is to give you something that you need to hear, not just what you want to hear. Too many people these days, even people who consider themselves thought leaders, and I don't consider them thought leaders, because if you're a thought leader, you tell people what they need to know. You don't tell people what they want to hear just because you don't abuse that position. You're disrespecting the game if you tell people what they want to hear and you're a thought leader. If you're a thought leader, your job, your affiliation rather, is to the game that you happen to be talking about. If you're a scientist, your affiliation is to the science, not to anything else. And even if the science happens to piss somebody off, even your boss gets pissed off by the science, well, listen, you're a scientist. All right, well, what's your affiliation to? So for me, just so everyone understands, and I think many of you, if you've been listening long enough, you probably know that. My affiliation is and will always be to the game. So what I'm saying here on point number one, I'm still on point number one. I told myself everything that I wish somebody had told me. Everything on this show, when I'm talking here, I'm giving myself advice at the same time I'm giving you advice. So this is not me preaching to you. I'm telling myself everything that I'm telling you. Sometimes when I'm recording and I'm saying certain things to you into this microphone, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Shit, I needed to hear that. And while I'm saying it, I'm thinking that to myself. I needed someone to say that to me, and I can be that for myself sometimes. Now, these are things that everything I'm saying on this show are things that I quote unquote know. But the thing is, I can't remember 1,000 hours worth of content at all times. Nobody can. So these master classes are just as much a reminder to Dre as they are informative to you. And what I share on this show is the education that I didn't receive, so I appointed myself to be the person to go and do it. And I told you about this when I did a recent episode on entrepreneurs, episode 1933. The real job of an entrepreneur is what we do is we look at the world, we notice a void, and we notice something that is not being done the way that we think it could be done. And instead of just pointing it out or complaining about it or protesting about it, you know what an entrepreneur does? We go out there and we do something about it. We go take personal initiative, make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen, and we become the solution that we think is needed. If you look at any entrepreneur in the world, they all do this. Every single one of them fits this description. They notice that there is a void. It's not that nobody's doing the thing, anything like it, but nobody's doing it the way that they would do it. So they go out and they do it their way. I mean, I'm not the only person with a podcast. I'm not the only person writing books. I'm not the only person talking about mindset. I'm not the only person who claims to be giving people real conversation and real direct exchange. But nobody's doing it the way that I'm doing it. And that's why I'm an entrepreneur. Because I notice the void and I go fill it myself. I don't complain about it. I don't point it out. I'm not the thermometer. I'm the thermostat. Now, I talked about that in my book, Work on Your Game, but you can see over my shoulder. It's right there on the top. There's a little glare on it. But Work on Your Game, you can get it at workonyourgamebook.com. I talked about that specifically in my book. Now let's move on to point number 2. Today's topic, once again, I'm giving you the 20 best key takeaways that I've gotten from doing 2,000 episodes of this show as it refers to me. That's today's episode. Number 2, this has helped me greatly polish my speaking skills. If you get on a microphone every single day for 20 to 30 minutes with no commercial breaks, no co-host to take some of the weight off of you, and every single day you had to deliver something of substance to an audience of people, to where millions of people have listened to your voice, you have no choice but to get good at speaking. Otherwise, you're going to just kill off your own show because nobody's listening. All right, that proverbial 10,000 hours you need in doing something to become proficient at it, I got it. Between this show, between actual live speaking gigs and events that I've done, between volunteer events that I've done, between talking to people in actual live in-person conversations, and all the content I put on YouTube and all the live streams, I have 10,000 hours in public speaking under my belt. I'm not telling you that to impress you, but to impress upon you. You can do the same thing. Nobody, putting the show out is free. You can do this. YouTubing is free. Live streaming is free. Dedicated practice when it comes to speaking. I have, just with this show alone, I have over 1,000 hours of recording just on this show, not counting anything else I've ever put up, not to mention any other forms of speaking. I had mastered my frameworks, my delivery, my explanation, and my defense of my points of view, at least as far as I can without anyone there to hit back. This would be a whole different show if this was like First Take with no Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless. Everything I say, somebody's going to hit back, and I got to defend it. I would be even better if it was doing it that way, but that's not the actual point of the show. Is not to entertain you all with banter. The point of the show is to give you the game, and that's what I do. This has helped me become very, very good at speaking extemporaneously, at having a point and then just going off of that point and coming up with things on my toes, on the fly as I'm talking. The majority of the stuff that I say on the show, I have notes when I'm recording. I know what point 1, point 2, and point 3 are. I haven't written down, but the stuff that goes into points 1 and 2 and 3, those are not written down. And that's the stuff that I've gotten really good at. I have my points in my head, and then I just figure out what I'm going to say to fill in the points while I'm talking. I started doing that at the beginning when I started doing the show. And that's what I've gotten really good at. So nowadays, when I go and speak somewhere publicly, I don't need to plan out a whole speech. I don't need to think about what I'm going to say. All I need is my points. As long as I have my points. If I have my 5 points, you can just give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can give me the points. And I will go on the stage and I can talk for 30 minutes with just 5 points. That will take 10 seconds to recite. I can take up 30 minutes and give you some actual substance, not 30 minutes of bullshit. Again, I'm not telling you that to impress you, but to impress upon you. You can do these same, everything I'm talking about here, I'm telling you to impress upon you that you can do these things and you can apply it to whatever you're doing. It doesn't have to be podcasting, doesn't have to be writing books, but anything that you do, you can apply these same principles. Point number 3. Today's topic again, 20 best takeaways as it refers to me from doing 2,000 episodes of Work on Your Game. Number 3, I've answered all of my own questions as far as how I would explain things. When I take any topic that I like to talk about or any idea that I have on this show, by putting it as an episode, I have to explain it. I had to defend it. I had to give my reasoning. I had to back it up. I had to possibly consider some alternative views and angles of that topic. And then I gotta make it clear so that anyone can understand it, even if you never even thought of the subject. I've gotten really good at that through doing this every single day for 2,000 days. When you're on your own on a daily show, any kind of platform, doesn't matter if it's video, audio, written, whatever, and you bring up a topic, there is no one to lean on. Like, I don't have a co-host and say, well, what do you think about this? And then I just play off what they said. It's just me. I got to figure out what I want to say. As a solo, and when you're writing solo, doing any kind of content, you had to fully articulate exactly what you mean. Otherwise, the audience is not going to get the point. So you got to get really good in your verbiage. You have to be really good at explaining things. You got to be really good at also considering alternative points of view, because if you're not offering the alternative point of view, somebody might be thinking it and say, well, this person's only looking at one side of it. Well, I don't really want to hear this. I want to hear somebody argue both sides of a conversation, which is something that I have advocated many times on this show. Doesn't mean I won't share with you my opinion. I will tell you opposite angles, but I'll tell you why I don't agree with an opposite angle and tell you my angle. But I want to make sure we're going to put it on the table. You have to fully articulate when you're solo exactly what you mean. And when you're doing something like a podcast, there may not even, and now I know a lot of podcasters also do video, but let's just say the audio alone. Many of you just listen to audio and don't look at the video, you just listen. There's no visual to distract the audience. See, when you're doing video, any of you who's watching this on video right now, and by the way, I do put the videos of these shows out on YouTube, but they don't come out. Like this episode is coming out today on audio, but the video is not gonna come out for like 3 months because I got so many other videos that I put out that it gets backed up. So if you want to see the video of any episode, you gotta wait like 3 months. By the way, just in case anybody didn't know. But you don't have the visual to distract the audience when you're doing just audio. See, I could not really be saying that much of substance, but if you like what you see on the camera, then you might keep watching even though I'm not saying anything of substance. But when it's just audio, every single word has to earn its way onto the episode. You have to be precise in your speech. So this show, just doing it, has sharpened my verbal sword, if you will. Point number 4. Today's topic, again, is I'm going to share with you the 20 best things that I've got from doing this show for 2,000 episodes straight. Today, I'm talking about myself. Number 4, audio. I have discovered, and I have decided, at least as of today, subject to change, that audio is my best medium. This is my number 1 medium for sharing my intellectual property. YouTube is great. I mean, we always gonna have love for YouTube. That's where I initially got known. I initially got known through making basketball videos on YouTube. I was blogging actually before that. And writing I love. I mean, I've written 29 books. I better love writing if I'm writing that much. Those things are great. Written is good, video is good, but the challenge with both of those is that when I'm writing, it negates the sound of my voice. Like you don't hear a voice when you're reading a book. Not literally hear a voice. And YouTube, you need to be good with putting visuals together, which is definitely not my wheelhouse. And if you ever watch any of my YouTube videos, you'll notice that they are, for the most part, not edited at all. It's just me. It's just me standing there talking. It's me sitting here right now. Maybe I do put out videos where I'm outside walking, so the environment outside, wherever I happen to be recording, does the job for me. But I don't do any editing. I'm not an editor. I hate video editing. It takes too long. It's tedious. It's not my type of thing. I'm gonna need to hire a full-time editor at some point. Then I'll get my YouTube editing game up. Not even back up, but just up, period, because it's never been up. But anyway, the whole point is audio is my best overall medium because it's just my voice, and my voice carries power. I've gotten very good verbally in saying the things that I'm saying, and it's easy for you to just plug this in and listen to this, and you could be doing a whole bunch of other things. You could be taking a walk, working out, driving to work, at work, pretending to work, but you're actually listening to me. You could do that with audio, but with YouTube, you can't do that because you actually have to have YouTube open. And usually if someone puts a video out, they want you to see something as well as hear something. And with written material, you have to divert your eyes. You have to put your eyes on the thing that is written down for you to get it. So you can't work out and read at the same time. Like you can't drive and read at the same time. Hopefully you're not doing that. You might die. But with audio, you can do other things, and this can be a passive activity, listening to the show, while at the same time you're doing the stuff that you need to do. And it was perfect timing. There were so many things that have happened when it comes to my brand and this whole work on your game thing that was perfect timing. It's perfect timing that YouTube and Facebook and what we now call social media all started happening at the exact time that I graduated college. And it just so happened, it was perfect timing that I'm in the gym working out every day, and I get a camera, and YouTube is out, and nobody was serving the basketball audience, and I started doing that right at that time. And then right when I found myself unemployed in basketball, this whole concept of building a personal brand and being able to publish your own material and sell your stuff online without the help of any tech expert, it became so easy for anyone to do it who didn't even know tech. That happened at the perfect time for me. And then right when I was getting out of basketball, I met a person who became my mentor and showed me the ropes of the thought leadership world. And then podcasting came along, and now here we are today. So there's been so many serendipitous moments that happened in my life for me to get to this point, while at the same time, let's be clear, the 4th principle of work on your game is personal initiative. Now, I'm not the only person who is, let's say, in their late 30s, early 40s, who might have had access, not might have, but definitely had access to these same things that I'm telling you about at the exact same times, because they're in my same age bracket, but I took advantage of them. I took advantage of these opportunities and did something with it. So that's why to nail down this last point here, audio is a perfect medium for me when it comes to sharing things like this. Now, if I need you to see something, then of course we got to take it to YouTube, we got to take it to video. But if I just want to say something, I just want you to hear it, this is the best platform for me, and it's for the right type of audience. It's just you, your voice, and the listener when you're podcasting. That's it. So you better be on point as far as what you're saying, how you explain things, and if you're a words person like I am, then those words matter. The things that you say matter, and you put the wrong words in the wrong combination, you completely miss the mark, and you may miss the target with who you're trying to get it to, and you might lose the listener. So all of those things matter, and that's why all of these points go together for today's episode. Let's recap what we talked about here today. 20 best things about doing 2,000 episodes of Work on Your Game. Part 1 is about me. Number 1, I told myself everything that I wish someone else had told me. This show exists for me to give you the game that I wish somebody had given me either last week or 10 years ago. Number 2, I polished my speaking skills. I got my 10,000 hours in doing this show every single day. Number 3, I've answered all my own questions as far as how I would explain certain things. So I have ideas, but explaining those ideas, I've been able to flesh them out and talk them through in doing this show. And when you're just doing audio, you have to be very precise in your speech. So I've sharpened my sword a lot by doing this show. Number 4, I've decided that audio is my best overall medium, at least as of today. I love making videos, I love writing as well, but writing, you can't use your voice, and on video, you have to do some editing, and the visual can distract people from what you're actually saying. But here with this, it's so narrowed down, it's so scaled down that it's very simple. It's just you, your voice, and the listener. That's it. So every single thing you say is being heard because there's nothing else to pay attention to, so you better be on point. I think I am. What do you think? I want everybody to text me. You want to get your daily motivation text that I send out every single day straight to your phone? All you got to do is hit me at the following number, 305-384-6894. You'll get the very next daily motivation text, and you can exchange texts with me once you're in there. Also, anyone who is looking to be coached one-on-one by me in my 3rd-day mastermind, the 3 main overall, what's the high level is the phrase I'm looking for. High level topics that I help people with, and there are plenty of subtopics underneath them, is accountability, strategy, and execution. If you want to be coached by me, you're going to get accountability, strategy, and execution. Now, again, that could be in different topics, different details we can go into underneath that, but these are the 3 things. If you're looking for one of these 3 or all 3 or a combination of the 3, you need to go to workonyourgameuniversity.com/call. The link is down below. We'll hop on a Zoom call, talk about what we need to talk about. Accountability, strategy, execution. That's what I'm here for. Work on your game. Dre, all